Why are avoidants so hesitant to be in a relationship? Is it just because they all got burnt in the past? Pretty much. Most people with an avoidant attachment style feel like they're not ready for commitment or are afraid of love because they have a completely false image of what love is and what it entails. Hi, guys, I'm Carolina, and my relationship used to be stuck. My then avoidant boyfriend, who, by the way, is now my husband and runs this YouTube channel with me, well, back then he remained undecided and even seemed scared of us getting closer at times. You see, he came out of a toxic relationship a year prior to us meeting. In a way, it felt like it was really unfair because I was paying the price for all the prejudice his ex created. So, no, you're not just imagining it. Your avoidant partner is projecting their ex or their mother or father onto you and pulling away from you, not because of something you did, but because of how he or she has been treated in the past. In this video, I'll help you understand the avoidant attachment wound and show you what you can do to help heal it so that you don't have to continue suffering because of it. And for all you guys who are already typing a comment, oh, avoidants are so broken, they deserve to die alone. That's the problem with you avoidants. You claim you're being logical, when in reality, you're just scared. So you rationalize your reactions by believing that running away from problems fixes them. It doesn't. If it did, you wouldn't be still obsessing over the one person who left you. And yes, avoidants are extremely frustrating. They keep on claiming that they'll leave, but don't. They'll say your relationship is over, but hold on to your stuff or keep on reaching out. Or they make all these future plans with you and then do a massive U turn and start saying they're not ready for commitment. If you've been wondering, am I reading too much into this? No, you're not. Avoidants love contradicting themselves and sending you lots of mixed messages. But why do they do this? Let's uncover the avoidant attachment wound. If you put all avoidants together in one giant room, you could divide them into two groups: the ones who had a needy or a controlling ex, and the ones who had a needy or a controlling parent. There are, of course, also the ones who have both a needy or a controlling parent and a needy or a controlling ex. So I guess you'll end up with three groups. Point being, they all have an attachment wound. They all had an experience where loving someone and trusting this person hurt them. Sometimes even physically, mostly just emotionally. So they view love through the lens of this negative experience and fear things that shouldn't be scary. They also undercommunicate or overreact because of this bad experience from their past. Let's go back to Gabriel and me for a second. When we met, he was still very angry at his ex. It used to scare me because I could sense he wasn't fully over her. But at the same time, he didn't seem to have any warm feelings towards her, so that was reassuring. Apparently, she was one of those people who picked fights over nothing. She once even started a serious fight over a comma placement in a text message. So, Gabriel developed lots of preemptive measures to try to predict when a fight was about to break out. Because of these preemptive measures, he often got defensive over nothing. He would look at me, conclude something, and would become irritated or unavailable without an explanation. And if I pushed for an explanation, he'd just get even more defensive or unavailable. This example I brought up, an ex who keeps on picking fights, is a relatively harmless one. Some avoidants have a history of being with a narcissist or getting cheated on. Some had extremely strict upbringing or had to take care of a parent from an early age onwards. Avoidant attachment wounds vary in depth and often have multiple sources. But this is what all avoidants have in common. They all had a negative experience of serious love or commitment in the past. It could be in a romantic context, but also in relation with their parents or caregivers. Just that, and this is the crucial point, most of them don't fully realize that the treatment they experienced was unfair. They often still believe that it was somehow either justified or inevitable, and that committing to someone will only make this bad experience from their past repeat again. But enough about avoidance. Let's talk about you guys for a bit, because I know firsthand how hard it is to be the one paying the price for someone else's mistakes. How does their attachment wound make you feel? There were times when I'd fight and try to defend myself from these unfair allegations Gabriel would throw in my direction. I'd say things like, "That's not what I mean," or "I'm not this kind of a person." But he'd just keep on insisting on his narrative. So much so, at some point, I'd say to myself, "Fine, be this way, stick to your prejudice. I'm not going to fight you on this anymore." Not fighting Gabriel about his unfair judgments did prevent our conflicts from escalating. Sadly, it didn't make these judgments go away. His attachment wound kept on getting in the way of our connection. It still leave me feeling hurt and rejected over and over again. So, this is how the avoidant attachment wound makes you, their partner, feel. It leaves you feeling misjudged, rejected, or worse yet, abandoned over nothing. So, what can you do about it? Before we go into solutions, let's first talk about typical reactions to the avoidant attachment wound. There are two big mistakes I and everybody else makes when it comes to responding to avoidant behaviors triggered by their attachment wound. Number one, we take it personally and justify or defend ourselves. Or number two, we put on a brave face and try to be the bigger person. We usually start with the number one, followed by mistake number two when the number one backfires. Let me give you guys an example. Once upon a time, a coaching client of mine checked her boyfriend's location and saw that he was at a beach house and texted him, "Wow, where are you at?" She didn't mean it as an accusation, and she wasn't in the habit of obsessively checking his location either. She just happened to look it up, and it seemed like a really nice neighborhood. But he flipped out. "I'm talking to a client. You're interrupting my meeting to accuse me of things. This is not okay." She took it personally and started justifying herself. She said, "I didn't mean it this way. It looked like a nice neighborhood and I was simply curious." But this guy's attachment wound was activated and he couldn't drop it. He had a history of being cheated on by a very possessive and suspicious woman. So when my coaching client tried explaining herself, her boyfriend responded with, "Now you're just trying to gaslight me. I'm not buying it." I knew location sharing was a bad idea, to which she reacted by putting on a brave face and trying to brush off this silly fight. But her avoidant partner was still triggered. He got distant and stopped sharing his location a few days later. So, if explaining yourself doesn't help and dropping things doesn't make this problem go away either, what can you do? How to heal the avoidant attachment wound? In order to be able to help your partner overcome their past traumas, you have to accept one simple truth. You cannot fix something for another person. You can only lead by example. You can't help an avoidant heal their attachment wound. You can only heal yours and let it inspire or push them towards healing change too. This is what happened for Gabriel and me. So, his avoidant attachment wound was partially about being with someone who kept on looking for conflict. Because of this, he was on a constant lookout for any sign of me being upset, because he expected it to then quickly escalate into a full-blown fight. That's what he learned from his previous relationship. Meanwhile, I felt like there was no room for me to express my feelings. My attachment was all about the fear of being abandoned. Whenever he got angry with me, I worried that he'd leave. So I started talking about my attachment wound in therapy. I also journaled about it. I was asking myself, why am I so afraid of it? Where does this come from? And what is its purpose? Does worrying about being abandoned prepare me for it? Or does it just leave me an anxious mess? After a few weeks of self-reflection, I had an epiphany. I realized, much like Gabriel would interpret my frown as a sign that a huge fight is about to explode, the same way I'd interpret his few hours of silence as a sign he was about to leave me forever. We were both projecting and overreacting. What happened next was completely unexpected. We were spending an afternoon together. I looked at my phone and sighed. He instantly got defensive and said, "What's wrong?" We just ordered food. I was hungry, so I was just looking at my phone, checking when it would arrive. So I answered, "Nothing. I'm just impatient because I'm hungry." Gabriel got defensive and said, "Well, just grab something from the kitchen." And in that moment, I suddenly realized his angry reaction didn't get to me. I had no urge to justify myself or to sulk in silence. I felt completely unbothered by his outburst and answered, "Geez, just let me be hungry in peace." But he wouldn't drop it. He said to me, "It's not my fault you're hungry." Normally, I'd get defensive or upset at this point, but this time I felt amused. So I said with a smile, "No, it's not. Why are you so bothered by me being hungry?" This question led Gabriel to share the story of that time his ex blew up his phone and verbally assaulted him over his comma placement in a text message. I listened to it with bewilderment. It made me forget about my hunger. The advantage of sharing a personal story like this with a close friend or a romantic partner over in therapy is that you can get emotional feedback. So at the end of the story, I said to him, "It's really messed up. She was crazy." To which Gabriel said half jokingly, "No, it's not normal to verbally assault someone over grammar." To which I responded decisively, "No, it's not." And we both laughed. And at that time, the bell rang, our food just arrived, and the atmosphere became lighter and more playful. I didn't continue the topic, and neither did he. It wasn't necessary. We could just enjoy the evening together without anything getting in the way. It was the fact that I worked on my own attachment wound that allowed me to not get triggered when Gabriel got triggered. I led by example, and it made me give him what he needed naturally. It just unfolded on its own. That conversation brought us closer. It didn't fully remove the barrier. Gabriel remained hypervigilant, but it provided a base understanding of his attachment wound for both of us. Fully healing someone's attachment wound is more of a lifelong journey than a result of a single epiphany. But understanding your own triggers and your own attachment style can get you further with an avoidant than anything else. You can't fix them, but you can either inspire them or challenge them. Working on healing your own attachment wound will empower you to be more assertive and set boundaries without all that much effort. We are all wired for connection. It comes to us naturally. As soon as we manage to remove the barriers that divide us, all relationships are haunted by the ghosts from the past. And it's your ghosts as well as your partner's ghosts. Accept that you can't heal their attachment wound and work on yours instead, and you'll start getting instant results. And if you want to talk to someone who overcame their own anxious attachment, you can book a coaching call with me. I'll link my availability in the description of this video. Thank you for watching.